Hello guys and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about and discussing the most surprising players in the NHL so far this year. But throughout all the NHL, who have been the most surprising players this season? Well, make sure you watch till the end because we're going to be talking about every single one of them and the biggest stories in the NHL. And make sure you hit that subscribe button for more hockey content just like this all throughout the year because you won't want to miss a thing. Now, as you'll see throughout a bit of this list, being a surprising player isn't automatically good news. And for the first player we're going to be talking about today, his season has started about as bad as you could possibly have predicted. And that is Morgan Frost of the Philadelphia Flyers, who at age 24 finds himself in a pretty rough spot with Philly. He had a breakout year last season, getting 1 goal shy of the 20-goal mark, ending up with 46 points in 81 games as Philly's premier centerman. Looked to be in a great spot in the future, still pretty young, still developing, still getting better. This year I thought was a year to maybe get a little bit better in the overall game, win even more trust with John Tortorella, but so far it's been the opposite. He played the first 2 games of the season with Philly, but since then has been healthy scratch for 5 straight games. You can see in those first 2 games, 0 points, a -1. It seems like he's completely lost favoring with John Tortorella. And we know, Torts, the points might be coming, but if you're not producing in the overall game, if you're not putting in that 100% effort, he's not going to play you. And so far, it seems like he's lost that bit of footing with John Tortorella. And there's even whispers that he could be requesting a trade because of this. But so far for Morgan Frost, a player that was supposed to be a top 6 center for this Philly team, he's on the outside looking in. And right now, Morgan Frost kind of seems like he's in no man's land right now, and we could see movement there. If he feels like he doesn't have a future in Philadelphia, maybe we see a requested trade. It could get that serious. I think eventually we'll see Morgan Frost get back into the Flyers lineup, get back into a good spot, but it might take a while here, and it might be too long for Morgan Frost's patience. This is a really weird situation, though, folks, that could escalate if things get weirder. Let's talk about another Philadelphia Flyers player, though, that is in the exact opposite situation, and that is D-man Travis Sanheim. Travis Sanheim has had a wonky NHL career so far. As a 17th overall pick at 27 years old, it's kind of crazy to see that he's that old already. But you can see he had some pretty solid seasons in 2020 throughout 2022. But in 2023, he took a major step back in the defensive game, finished with 23 points in 81 games. But this year, we have seen Travis Sanheim back in a big way. Not only is he putting up points, in 7 games has 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points, one of the Flyers' top scorers. His overall game has taken leaps and bounds. Ever since 2020, he's been a solid defensive player, but we saw a big dip in that 2023 campaign. This year, though, he's back to an elite level, and for Philadelphia has been one of their best overall players. With Rasmus Ristolainen out, a player that was eating a lot of minutes and was actually not that bad last year, of course, players like Travis Sanheim and Cam York have had to step up into big roles, as big as they possibly could, and with Travis Sanheim especially, who's been in a big role with Philadelphia for a while, he's used to that, but has adjusted well this season, and so far his start has been brilliant. You look at all Philadelphia Flyers players so far, 5-on-5, Travis Sanheim ranks 4th among all of them in expected goals for per 60 with a 3.54 rate. Pretty good. And in terms of expected goals against per 60, right now he ranks 10th with a 2.18 rate, which is pretty great for defensemen. So far, Philadelphia has been really good at strangling offenses so far. Travis Sanheim, a big part of that defensively, but the overall production, the consistency on the ice, maturity, Sanheim has gone so much bigger, so much better than last year. And unlike Morgan Frost, is getting all of the responsibility from Torts. Now let's go into my third surprising player for this season, and this one is another guy that is not surprising for the best reasons. And I regret to inform you guys that it is Matty Beniers of the Seattle Kraken. Yes, the sophomore slump for Matty Beniers seems to have hit, and even though it's gotten slightly better in the last couple of games, Matty Beniers' start of the year has been pretty dreadful. You can see after winning the Calder last year with 57 points in 80 games and half a point per game in the playoffs too, Matty Beniers has started off this season with 0 goals, 3 assists, is a -10 in 8 games played. I mean, Seattle has had a pretty widely bad start to the year, but Matty Beniers, out of all of them, honestly, might be one of the most surprising and, compared to last year, least effective out of them all. Now, the offense dipping is definitely unfortunate, though not the most surprising thing in the world. To me, the biggest difference is the defensive play. With Matty Beniers, even though the points were great last year, one of the biggest reasons why he ultimately won the Calder and deserved that Calder was the overall game, the defensive game, the responsibility he had in his own zone. He was one of the most effective players at stifling high danger chances, keeping his own zone clean last year with a 2.4 rate in terms of expected goals against per 60, 5-on-5, incredible for a rookie. You see this year it's up to 3.6, way higher, way more bigger opportunities led on the ice when Matty Beniers is on it, and to me that's one of the most unfortunate things. Sure, lesser offense is okay, but when you're losing as much as Beniers has lost defensively, that's where the red flags start to really show for me. Especially when you consider out of his 3 points, only one of them is at even strength. One even strength point for him in 8 games. That's just unacceptable. But now let's go on to the next surprising player here, and this time for the good. And to me, that is Jesperi Kotkaniemi of the Carolina Hurricanes. It seems like Kotka just continues to get better and better within the Hurricane system. Still 23 years old, but he has put up some pretty massive results this year. After getting 43 points in 82 games last season, in 8 games this year, he has 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points in 8 games played. And when you look at it for Kotkaniemi, this was last year's last 22 games for him. He got 7 goals, 11 assists for 18 points. So of course, if you add the 8 games on from this year, you get a total of 30 games played. You get a total of 11 goals. You get a total of 16 assists. And of course, you get a total of 27 points. Not bad for Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and the offense seems to have really come. I mean, he's almost a point per game over his last 30 games. That's pretty incredible. So I guess in that respect, it's not really completely surprising that he's putting up these totals, but still, over a point per game in the regular season, still 23 years old at the contract he's at. I think a lot of people still don't understand just how good Kotkaniemi has been recently for Carolina. But now let's go on to one of the most surprising players, but genuinely one of the worst top 6 players in the entire NHL right now. And that is Nazem Kadri of the Calgary Flames. Now, Huberdeau also deserves some blame, but he is at least has put up a few more points than Kadri has. At 33 years old, Kadri has declined rapidly for the Flames. He got 56 points last year, but was largely invisible in the outside of the point statistics game. And this year so far in 8 games, he has 1 assist for 1 point, a -10 for what he's getting played for. I mean, Nazem Kadri has been an embarrassment, simply put. For 1 assist in 8 games, Nazem Kadri is getting paid $7 million per year, and this deal doesn't end until after the 2028-29 season. So for Nazem Kadri, he's in the 2nd year of this deal and already has become a complete non-factor for the Calgary Flames. It's not even like he's put up 1 point, he's gotten unlucky. He has been completely invisible, and when he has been visible, he's been on the ice for goals against. When that deal was signed, I was pretty pessimistic about it working out for the Calgary Flames, but I did not think it would be this bad. I still thought that Nazem Kadri would be a 2nd-line center caliber guy, but he really hasn't been. He hasn't been up to snuff in any single way with Calgary so far. This year has just been an embarrassment for the Flames so far, an obvious sign they need to rebuild like I've been telling them for ages to do, but Kadri's deal especially. I mean, look at this, $7 million, man. How did this happen? I know why it happened. He had 1 fluke season with Colorado, and Calgary, the dummies that they were, decided to give him the bag for it, but we're seeing just how much it's cost them in the end. Now let's keep going through these surprising players here and go on to one that I had a lot of pessimistic thoughts about in the preseason, but has proved a lot of us wrong in Alexis Lafreniere. It's good to see Lafreniere finally start to establish himself in a true spot in the top 6, and so far he's been getting rewarded. You can see in 7 games has 4 goals for 4 points, but not even just the goal scoring. He has looked so much better, so much more complete, making passes that we just haven't really seen from him before. He is a much different player this season, and so far is looking so much more confident too. And it's not just those goals, it's the overall game as well to play with it. You can see in terms of all of the Rangers right now at 5-on-5, Alexis Lafreniere is 3rd best in expected goals for per 60. The only players ahead of him are his line mates in Philip Pedal and Artemi Panarin. And in terms of expected goals against per 60 as well, Lafreniere is actually the best on his line with a 2.75 rate. Pretty decent for a young forward, especially of Lafreniere's caliber, who really hasn't put up good defensive numbers in the past whatsoever. But that offense, that consistency at 5-on-5, we've of course seen the goal scoring in the past, but to me with Lafreniere, just the continual confidence in his game. He could have more points, honestly, more assists I could absolutely see out of him soon. This is a player that is just continuing to break out in a big way, and it's finally happening for the New York Rangers, which is good to see. Now let's go on to one of my boys and a player that has had a fantastic start to the year as a rookie, an incredible rookie D, Pavel Mintyukov of the Anaheim Ducks. Now, I thought personally I was a pretty big fan of Mintyukov, but even I did not see him arriving into the NHL this season and being as good as he has been. At 19 years old, Pavel Mintyukov has been incredible for Anaheim. In 7 games, has 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points, which is pretty great for a rookie defenseman, but it's all the other things surrounding that. This is a player that's looking already pretty complete. Hasn't really sacrificed too much defense for offense, and that's one of the biggest strengths for me going back to his OHL days, was just how responsible he was. The growth in his maturity, the way he was able to read the game. Everything for Anaheim has been the perfect parts of Mintyukov's game. They have used him perfectly so far. And you, of course, look at the advanced stats, and with Pavel Mintyukov on this Anaheim defense, right now he ranks first in expected goals for per 60, and in terms of the expected goals against per 60, he's right now third, tied with Jamie Drysdale at a 2.09 rate, which is pretty great for both of these young players. But Anaheim is so far looking pretty decent defensively. They've been hanging on with some pretty great teams, got that huge overtime win against Boston, but Mintyukov has been such a big addition to that defense that has gone such a big way. I mean, players like Lecombe as well have been huge additions to that defense. Tristan Leno has been interesting. You look at that whole defense, though, and how young it is, it's miraculous just how good they've been. Now, next up, let's go on to a prospect that has completely took me and a lot of the hockey world by surprise, and that is Matthew Poitras, who has just been an absolute beast for the Boston Bruins. At 19 years old, I mean, there's been the comparisons to Patrice Bergeron already. I don't know if I would go that far, but he has been legendary at this point so far. You can see in his first 7 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. To me, Poitras, it's so many of the little things that he did well in the OHL, the smarts, the quickness, the adaptability in the offensive zone, so good at creating space, so good at using his physicality and the puck protection. He has done everything he's needed to, and he's used every single strength he has in the NHL to perfection. The Bruins have used him well. They put him in a good spot, in a great position to succeed, and so far he has. This is one of those prospects, man, that might not have the insane flash of some other players, but it's just continually got better and better every single year since they've been drafted. And of course, we've seen him burst onto the scene with Boston, but a no BS type of game with Poitras, and that's really the biggest thing. That's what's won him the NHL job. That's what's won him these top 6 minutes, and that's what's winning him right now, tied for the most goals in NHL rookies. He's been insane, and he will continue to be. For my next big surprise, let's go on to another guy that has been fantastic this year, and Joseph Woll of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who has seemingly stole the starter job from Ilya Samsonov after a great stint last year and the year before that. Woll has been incredible in the NHL. Just his entire career. You can see as the 3rd round pick, 25 years old, he just continues to get better and better. And this year in 4 games, he has a .961 save percentage after having a .932 save percentage in 7 games last year, and a .911 save percentage in 4 NHL games the year before that. To me, with Joseph Woll, he just continues to get more consistent, get more NHL time. And I mean, how do you take it away from him? He has continually made huge saves, been so mature in net, has brought on that consistency for Toronto. And sure, Ilya Samsonov was pretty solid last season, but he got off to a rough start. Woll is taking the net, and I don't know if he'll look back. And in terms of all NHL goaltenders so far, Joseph Woll ranks first in goals saved above expected with a plus 7.36. That's just insane. And sure, it's 4 games in, but right now Joseph Woll has a career .934 save percentage in 15 NHL games and a .915 in 4 playoff games. Pretty much whenever he's been in the NHL, he's been good, and again, isn't showing many signs of stopping. Let's go from a Leaf to a former Leaf here, and next up, I have Justin Holl, who I am ready to eat all the crow about, man, because he has been incredible this season. On the middle pair with Ben Sherrod of all people, they have been incredible this season for Detroit, and have been one of the biggest reasons why that defense has been much better, why that team has been much better. In 7 games, he has 3 assists for 3 points, but it goes much more beyond that for Holl and his impact with Detroit. To me, the biggest difference between his Toronto play and the Detroit play is just kind of the nerves, the senses with Justin Holl. It feels like he understands that he's under a lot less pressure, and it's kind of playing the game that he's supposed to have played all along, not really making these little details that can spread into big ones. With Holl, he just seems a lot more calm. He seems like he just has a lot more confidence within the organization that his spot is secure. Obviously, coming with that big free agency signing, Detroit has given him the faith and the confidence, and so far, he's run with it. And it's something you just love to see, man. Justin Holl is a fantastic guy, and it's great to see him go to an organization that does value him, what he can bring, and so far his game has really been rewarded because of that. Sometimes that's just all it takes. But let's go on to the last surprising player I'm going to mention in today's video. There's a lot of them, but to me, this might be the most surprising player in the entire NHL this season, and that is from the Tampa Bay Lightning in goal, Jonas Johansson. Of course, we all know that Andre Vasilevsky had that huge injury, which will put him out for the first couple months of the season for Tampa Bay. But what would I tell you if I told you that Jonas Johansson has come in and become one of the best goalies in the NHL this year already? Because of course he has. With my tweet kind of putting all the stats together, in 7 games so far of Johansson, he has a .925 save percentage for Tampa. He has 221 saves, which is the most in the entire NHL this year, and has a plus 6.51 goals saved above expected, which is 4th among all NHL goalies. I mean, Joseph Woll is surprising, sure, but he has been great in the NHL throughout his entire NHL stint. Throughout the last few years, very few goaltenders have been as consistently bad as Jonas Johansson. Yet here he is under Tampa Bay's system being one of the best, because that's just how Tampa Bay is. I want to point you to Jonas Johansson's seasons and just how bad they've been. You can see how many minuses are across the board. Now, he did have 1+ season last year at Colorado in 2023, but that was in 3 games, so not the biggest sample size. But then you go on to this year with Tampa Bay, and then so in the 7 games so far has a plus 6.45 goals saved above expected. I mean, it's just absolutely insane what Jonas Johansson has been able to do. Of course, in Tampa Bay, he is a god now, and we just have to live with him. But those are my surprising players so far through the 2023-24 season. If you guys did enjoy the breakdown, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Comment down below, out of the players on this list, who do you think is the most surprising, the least surprising, and who do you think is the most surprising player in the NHL so far this year? Let us know down below. Of course, make sure you share a video of all the hockey fans you guys know online. Get the big surprises out there, and click on this card for all my hockey ratings content right on one playlist. My name is Nathan, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, and goodbye.